What you want. What you need. All I'm asking is for a little respect when you get home. Bienvenue, willkommen, welcome to More Movies Weekly 24.
Or does a guy like you get 24?
Hello and welcome to the podcast that likes to talk to you about what's what, what's hot and what's not in the land of movies, films, cinema. And my name is Greg Fisher. This legend sitting next to me here is David Roberts, Esquire. How are you doing, sir?
I'm very well, sir. How are you?
I'm not so bad myself, thank you. All the better for seeing you. So we got a lot to talk about on this podcast. Let's get straight into it, buddy. So this week we have been watching a brand new film about the Queen of Soul herself, Aretha Franklin. The film is called Respect. It's all about her life. It's a biopic. It's packed full of music, drama, love, hate, tension, all of the stuff you'd expect to see in a damn good biopic. Those familiar with the life of Aretha Franklin will pretty much be familiar with the story. I didn't really know too much about her life. It's a funny thing because Aretha Franklin has always been one of my favorite recording artists, music figures, whatever. But I didn't really know much about her life. I knew a little bit, and this has kind of been a bit of a reveal. So, Dave, tell me what you thought.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, because she's always been there, hasn't she? You know, and she's been such an icon of popular culture for the last 50, 60 years, whatever. And she is one of the. Yeah, she's one of those that not. I guess most people don't know that much in detail about her life. So it's very interesting. I mean, even just for that, to find out the story of where she came from. It's a good film. It is a good film. It's more than anything, Jennifer Hudson is fantastic in the role of Aretha, and the rest of the cast, Forest Whitaker, et al. It's fantastic, but I think it's just one of those films that falls slightly into the hole that biopics often fall into. It was a bit too long, and I think just a bit like the Bohemian Rhapsody film, like there's a bit too much music, too much crux on giving full performances of songs rather than concentrating on the story, really. And I think that's what slightly let it down. But apart from that, it's an excellent film and an excellent story, and a fantastic cast.
So this is directed by Liesl Tommy, as you say, the amazing Jennifer Hudson from, people know of maybe from American Idol, and she was on The Voice over here in the UK and in the US. She has since gone on to sort of global superstardom. She won an Academy Award. She's just amazing. And this is the kind of person, Aretha Franklin, where you can't just have any old person play her. It needs to be somebody else with the full package. Perfect casting, Jennifer Hudson. She is incredible in the role because, you know, she does all the singing herself. And it's like, you know, yeah, you're going to have to sing like Aretha Franklin. You know, pretty much there's very, very few people on the planet that could check all those boxes and be able to like pull it off vocally. So I thought she was astounding in it. Where I disagree with you is the use of music in the film, because I like the way that they did it. I like the way that they used the development in her musical career to reflect what was going on in her life at the time. So, I mean, there's a lot going on in this film, man. You know, I mean, to backtrack a little bit and talk about not really knowing much about her life, I didn't realize the extent to which she was controlled by her father when she was young. The Reverend C.L. Franklin, who was a preacher, come from the church. He was obviously, you know, friends with everybody who was anybody. I mean, we're talking about like major musical stars like Smokey Robinson, Dinah Washington. You know, he knew Martin Luther King really well from being a reverend, from being a preacher. So he was involved with all that and with the civil rights movement. They basically knew anybody who was anybody from that crowd at that time. I also didn't realize that she was sexually abused as a child. So that was a heavy element of the film, man. That the realization that had happened to her, and that she'd actually bore children by the person that had abused her at a very young age, you know. And I was shocked by that. What did you think about that? I was like, whoa.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of, and it's quite early on that you find out that happens, and it is a kind of, oh my God, you know.
Yeah.
And you kind of realize as well that, well, this got to be true, because they wouldn't do something like this if it wasn't in a film like this. And yeah, you just kind of gobsmacked, and then they kind of reveal a bit more later on, don't they, about the fact she was pregnant at apparently age 12 and again at 15. And it's like...
It's terrible, man. It really
shocking,
it quite upset me, actually, watching it. I thought, oh my God. So she's dominated by her father also, and she came from a broken home. Then, as a youngster, her mum dies, so she loses her mum. So there's, you know, more trauma on top of that. And then later on, in her young adulthood, she ends up with this guy, Ted White, who in the film is played excellently, to be fair, by Marlon Wayans. I've never seen him play such a serious, dramatic role, because he's always usually, you know, like a scary movie and stuff. He's just like a bit of a, you know, comedy actor, really.
I'm on TV. Oh, shit. First cops, now this. Oh, man, I'm be a star, son.
But he was brilliant in this. You know, as an abusive husband, unfortunately, but a really great portrayal, a really great performance as that role. But as I say, he was abusive. So she's gone from being dominated by her father to being dominated by this jealous, violent, and as she says in the movie, psychopathic husband. That was also a revelation to me. I couldn't believe it. I was stunned by that. It was reminding me a lot of what Tina went through with Ike Turner, which was really well covered in the film What's Love Got to Do with It? Another fantastic biopic about another amazing diva of soul music and Motown and R&B and blues and rock and roll. Tina Turner, she's up there. But Aretha also, you know. And this film, I'd say, was for any fans of people who liked What's Love Got to Do with It, they're definitely going to love this film as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, that's the thing, because really the film is a tragedy. I mean, it's really quite depressing in a lot of ways. And what's even more tragic is that the film is actually kind of a nicer version of the tragedy she went through.
Of course,
you know, it's toned down upon, and they obviously take liberties with the story. All biopics do.
You have to. Just to squeeze it all in.
Yeah, and people move things around just for all kinds of reasons, for storytelling reasons. But I mean, there's crazy stuff like apparently her father, the church that he ran, was, and I say they had lots of orgies and stuff like that in real life. So there's a little allusion to it.
There is an allusion to it where she says that Ray Charles said the best sex he ever had was when he was on the gospel circuit. But that's all about religion, repression. You know, they weren't Catholics, but they were Baptists. So there's the same sort of being raised in the church and this repressed sexuality. So, you know.
Y'all church folks is some of the nastiest people out here. Ray Charles told me that the best sex he ever had was when he was singing on the gospel circuit.
Forest Whitaker, one of my favorite actors also. Great to see him in this role. He played a really good part as her father, Reverend C.L. Franklin. Now, just a month ago, I watched the documentary film Amazing Grace for the first time, which is the film they put together just after she died about the recording of the album Amazing Grace, which is one of the best-selling gospel albums ever, I think. It was the best one, and it was the best-selling album for her, as it points out at the end of the film. But it's obviously a documentary, so a lot of these figures in it, like James Cleveland, you know, the guy who plays the piano with her when she's a little girl and stuff, he's in it. The dad's in it, you know. So all these figures are in it for real, you know. I think you even see, because the concert was over 2 nights in this church in Watts in LA. You even see Mick Jagger at the back of the church on the second night.
Oh, right.
Yeah, getting in there. But I only watched that a month ago, so the fact that this movie, the biopic, ends with that dramatization of that concert and everything was really nice. But again, I didn't know that she became an alcoholic. So, you know, all of that bit at the end, she sort of, this is my criticism of the film, that dive into depression, the fact she never really dealt with the abuse she suffered as a child, and all the other repression led to alcoholism and led to her being a little bit of, what's the word, sort of like she becomes a control freak, doesn't she, about her career and her music and everything, to the point where she's becoming a little bit, you know, and they portray it in the film as a sort of aftershock of the death of Martin Luther King, etc., who she was friendly with, she knew personally in her life through her father. But yeah, she basically sinks into this wild depression, and then she is, in a sense, redeemed by turning back to God, by turning back to the church and to the gospel side of things, and they do that album. And that's kind of where they wrap up the film, and it is a good place to wrap it up. But my criticism would be that last little bit of the sink into alcoholism and depression was a bit rushed over. But as you said, it was a long film. It's over 2 hours. There's things like 2 hours, 12 minutes long. So by the time you get to that point, I suppose it was just like, and this, and this, and then we go. You know, that's it. End off. So maybe the pacing was a little bit out, is what I'm trying to say, inarticulate.
Well, I definitely think the pacing of the film was out, and there's certain things like all that alcoholism, really, it happened even earlier than they're really portraying.
Right, there we go.
She during the recording of all them albums, she was battling those demons and a heavy smoker and stuff like this. She
really?
had... Yeah, lots
God,
of...
you'd think with someone like that, with such a voice, would just never bother smoking.
But she took her a long time to pack it in, you know, to try and, I
mean, everybody smoked in the 60s and the 70s. Everybody bloody smoked. But it's just, you hear like someone like Tom Waits, and he sings like this, and he's got this. And you think, 20 cigarettes a day, there's the voice or whatever. But Aretha Franklin, such an angelic voice. You'd think a cigarette had never even touched her lips, but there you go. Whiskey, cigarettes, all the rest of it. Could not stop that voice, you know. But
yeah, they kind of like, again, it's shuffling the pack of the story, isn't it? And
sure,
these things. But definitely, I think the pacing's well off. And I think one of the things when I talk about the lots of music, there was one point, it's probably like 2/3 of the way into the film, there was a long performance, maybe a 3-4 minute song. Then there was like a very short 30-second scene, and then it was another 3-4 minute performance of a song. And I thought it's just like almost relying on the music a bit much to pad out the film for this extravagant.
I don't think they were trying to pad it out, because it wasn't like it was. It needed more in it. I think that they were trying to pack them all in. You know, we can't put respect in and not have think in. We can't put this in and that in. I love the one, for example, I really love the one that a sister had wrote, and they kind of develop it in the studio, and that scene was wonderful. There's the one before it where she first goes to Muscle Shoals, and all of those white guy musicians, they kind of like get that song together.
They were brilliant.
I thought that was a great scene.
I think they were the better scenes. The scenes where it's not like, oh, we're doing, because it reminded me, the reason it reminded me of Bohemian Rhapsody is you take the song like Respect, and they did it all on stage. It's the full thing. And it reminded me of the end of Bohemian Rhapsody. They do the whole bloody Live Aid thing for 20 minutes. And in one sense, yeah, it's cool. They're recreating these historical moments. But on the other hand, it's like, it seems a bit indulgent, and it's like, you're not really delving into something new here, and we're here to tell a story.
So maybe if we'd had like a montage of the live performances, segueing into different songs,
or shorter versions, or something like that. The bits where they're in the studio developing the songs are far more interesting, because you're telling the story, how it came about, the personal animosities that are going on and stuff. That's where it's fascinating, and they're the bits I enjoyed the most. I mean, Marc Maron as Jerry, the manager,
Jerry Wexler, it's so cool.
Jerry Wexler, he's brilliant, and I love Mark. He was, of course, in Glow, the TV series, and he's also in Joker. He's starting to take on quite a few roles recently, and I think he's a really great actor. I think he does a really great role.
He was great in this as Jerry Wexler. Spot on. Yeah.
I mean, that argument.
They were all great, though. I don't think there was anyone in this film where you think, "Oh, you suck."
What musicians do you have lined up, Ted?
George Davidson. Miller Brisker.
You can't have the premier singer of our time touring Europe with a ragtag bunch of amateurs suitable for backing some third-rate blues singer in a bucket of blood in Louisville,
I want to
Louisiana.
use Ted's musicians, Mr. Wexler.
That was the strongest part. The strongest part was the cast was, yeah, I believe them. They're spot on. They're doing everything right. Their performance is good. So all of that was fantastic. I think the biggest criticism is pacing, length, rushing certain things and holding on stuff that, some of the stuff as a kid was just, it just seemed like whether as a child for a long time in that film that I was like, come on, we need to get going now. I was like, we've seen enough of her playing the piano as a 10-year-old. Let's get to where it really starts,
Yeah, I think you've got something there because, they seem to spend a long time labouring the point that she was silent for a while after her mum had died and that. And, fair enough. I see where you're coming from. I mean, I think fans of Aretha and her music will forgive all those things easily and just really just bask in the whole, the movie as a whole and enjoy every little drip of it, as I did. But looking at it technically from a sort of film criticism point of view, yes, there are these issues. There isn't a perfect film, but a lot of these biopics end up like that, and some are better than others.
Absolutely. I think it's in the nature of these biopics. I think there's very few that are perfect. And it's a tug of war between usually like the estate of the artist and makers of the film and all, different people. So there's usually compromise involved.
Well, the thing is, still a fun film. These are films about people's real lives.
Yeah.
So when they don't fit into the classic sort of structure of a story, you do get this chopping and changing and take that bit out and put that bit there instead of
move
there.
Around. Yeah,
that's going to happen, as we've said. But considering that, I think respect deserves respect. It is a fantastic film. It'll definitely appeal to fans of things like What's Love Got to Do with It. The production value is excellent, second to none. As we've said, the casting is perfect. The musical renditions of everything is faithful and absolutely spot on. Really, really great talent in there. And I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a very enjoyable film. I would recommend people to watch it because it is great, and it's a very fascinating story. It is a story where you're like, oof, So it's very interesting. The performances are fantastic. I may moan about them being in there, but when they do arrive, it is like, got you guys. You really enjoy it. So it's definitely fun to watch. Absolutely, and worth checking out, especially anyone who is a fan of Aretha or just soul and gospel in general and stuff like that. It's definitely one to watch.
Absolutely. So what did you think of Respect? Have you had a chance to see it yet? Let us know in the comments what you thought. Are you Aretha Franklin fans? We want to hear from you. Leave us a comment and let us know.
So in other news, we've not even had Dune being released yet. It's about to drop. We've had the reviews. They've dropped and they've been overwhelmingly positive, mainly talking about how ambitious the film is. Well, ambition is something Denis Villeneuve certainly isn't afraid of. He has already got Dune 2, the sequel, ready to go, he says, as long as the studios say A-OK.
Yeah, that's Warner Brothers obviously have got to sign the checks. And that's what it's all about in terms when we talk about studios and executives and the rest of it. We're really just talking about the money men. But yeah, I mean, that's what a lot of people have said, that it's going to take more than one movie to fully realize Frank Herbert's original vision for Dune. And it's good that they didn't try and pack too much into one film, a la 1984's version. Was it 84 or 85? David Lynch version, basically. So, sounds good. But like you said, we haven't even seen the first one yet. So
this is it. It's going to be the litmus test about it, isn't it? If it goes well.
They need audience response because often is the case, critical and audience reactions, they can differ. Critics can hate a film, audiences can love it, and it makes a lot of money. And, the opposite can happen as well. Critics love it, and audiences say, I don't think that's going to happen with Dune, although online, from what I've seen, it is mixed in terms of anticipation. There's people like you and I that can't wait to see it. It looks great. It's got all the stars in we want to see, and it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. But there's other people that are just like, nah, don't see it.
Philistines.
Do you know what a Philistine is, Jim?
Sir, it's Richard.
Oh,
We'll see, won't we? Yeah,
we
it's,
sure will.
It'll launch next month, I guess, and we'll find out. Really, we'll know in the first few weeks if it does tremendously well. We know there's a second one coming. If it's a flop, then there won't be.
No, I think there will be. Personally, I'll put money on that. There will be, because I think people are ready to see this film. Whether it, whatever reactions get to it, it's going to make money. I think.
He who controls the spice controls the universe.
Okay, so I wanted to tell you about this because I know how much of a fan you are of film noir. Taylor Hackford, who directed things like Ray, do you remember Ray? With, Jamie Foxx? Well, he is doing another film which has been touted as a film noir, and it stars Morgan Freeman, Al Pacino, Danny DeVito, and Helen Mirren. Let me just read you this little snippet I found online. The story follows what happens when two residents die under suspicious circumstances in a high-end luxury retirement community. Retired detective Joe Mulray, Morgan Freeman, is pulled back into the action by his former partner, William Keyes, Danny DeVito, and they uncover a hidden underworld of sex, drugs, and murder in the wealthy community controlled by kingpin Harvey Stride, Al Pacino, and his femme fatale enforcer, the Spider, Helen Mirren. Are you intrigued, Mon ami?
I'm very intrigued. I mean, just from the four cast members, you're kind of sitting there going, there's four absolute stars, absolute legends, icons in a film, and it's a film noir. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
What could be better?
It's got to be good. Sniff, though, funny title.
It is a funny title.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting as well if they do it in black and white or not.
Yeah, that would be a stylistic choice. I think they'd probably be too scared to do something like that these days. Do you remember when they did The Artist, however many years ago, 10, 15 years ago, and it won loads of awards, and people, and it was a silent film, never mind it being like a black and white as well, and people were like, oh my God, black and white films.
Well, Mank was in black and white, of course.
Yeah, but, didn't do that great, did it?
I think it did okay.
Yeah, okay, but we don't want okay. At Warner Brothers, we demand 110%, 150% of the time. Get out of here.
Or they might do what they keep doing with films now and there's a colour version and then they release a black and white version afterwards.
Excellent point. I mean, I agree with you. If it was going to be a proper film noir, it needs to be in black and white. It's part of the genre, that whole chiaroscuro thing. I'm not against it. I like black and white films. You like black and white films. But what about Joe Public?
Fuck him.
I don't think that's how it works, Dave. Anyway, there we go. Something to look forward to. Something to
Absolutely.
Make a little note of in your diary and say, keep an eye on that. Should be good.
Very exciting.
Hello.
So sadly, last week we lost a couple of giants of cinema. Firstly, Jean-Paul Belmondo, the French cinema icon who came up in the French New Wave with films like Breathless, passed away at the age of 88. That's pretty sad. We're losing this generation. They're all starting to drop off one by one now.
That's it. It's sad news. It is that thing now. We've spoken about this before about that generation is coming to that age now, and there's so many more of them, and we're just going to keep on losing more stars, But fantastic actor, fantastic icon of French cinema.
Jean-Paul Belmondo is like an action guy. He used to do his own stunts, and to be honest, I'm surprised he lasted till 88. I've seen somebody put up a reel of him doing his own stunts, and he's jumping onto trains, jumping off trucks, hanging onto helicopters. falling down mountainsides. Honestly, what this guy didn't do is, is not worth knowing. He's just an absolute legend. My favourite film of his was a version they did of Les Miserables in the 90s. It wasn't the musical, it was just an adaptation of the book. And he plays a version of Jean Valjean, who is basically giving a lift to some people that are Jewish people that are running from the Nazis in France. He's sort of taking them into hiding, giving them a lift. And they're reading the book of Les Miserables to him because he can't read, but someone has told him that he is just like a character in it, Jean Valjean. But yeah, in other news as well, really sadly, we lost Michael K. Williams, who most people will know from The Wire. That's where I knew him from.
Of course.
He has starred in some movies. He was just starting to get some good roles in some good films. But God damn it, he's gone. It's like, it reminded me of Chadwick Boseman as well, because he's only young. I think he was in his 40s or something. And,
yeah, he was 54.
Oh, 54. Well, still young,
yeah,
though.
Still incredibly young, yeah.
When you compare it to Belmondo's 88, that is a full life at least. But this guy's, has passed away a lot younger, which is really sad. As I say, most people will know him from The Wire. I do know him from that. His role as Omar Little, who I thought was like one of the coolest characters in any TV show ever. He was so cool.
He was in quite a few films. I mean, going back, it's obviously smaller roles, but he was in Gone Baby Gone and Incredible Hulk and
12 Years a Slave.
12 Years a Slave. He was in Inherent Vice, Ghostbusters,
Assassin's Creed.
Yeah. So he's been in plenty of, obviously, smaller roles there. And most people will know him, of course, from television. He was in Community as well. And
Boardwalk Empire.
Stuff like
He's
that.
really
Boardwalk
great in that as
Empire. So, quite prolific and fantastic actor. I really enjoyed him when he came on screen.
He was really good, really good.
And yeah, such sad young age to go out, really.
Yeah, totally. Could have had so much more from him. Would have liked to see him, get like sort of lead casting in some films and stuff. But there we go. It's a sad one. Enjoy your life. Life is short, like Ferris Bueller says.
I said it before and I'll say it again. Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Well, we've been away for a couple of weeks, but that doesn't mean we haven't been busy on our website. So as usual, you can check out what articles we've been doing recently. So we have a top 5 Wim Wenders article that went out last week. And this week we have just published top 5 John Ford movies.
Absolutely. We also had our reactions to the brand new James Bond trailer, which had just dropped. And of course, the brand new trailer for The Matrix Resurrections, the 4th Matrix film, which has also just dropped. They're on our YouTube channel. Of course, the link's in the description down below.
And a couple of reviews, filming 5 reviews, and they're up on the website too. So you did one for the Disney animated feature, The Black Cauldron. And I did one for the classic 1961 musical West Side Story. So you can check both of those out on our website. Links again in the description below.
Fancy a coffee, Greg?
Yeah, I do actually.
So, what kind of coffee would you like, sir?
I'll have any kind of coffee you take. I'll have Colombian. I'll have a deep roast, dark, double calf, half calf, skinny latte with chocolate bits and sprinkles on, please.
Colombian roast coming up.
Yeah, Jenny, don't worry about me. We got cocaine and coffee here. We're going to get wired and have a big party.
Of course, we are desperate for coffee here at More Movies. So if you enjoy what we do, then you can support us over at buymeacoffee.com. The link is in the description down below. Or you can join us on Patreon, where you can join one of our packages and even vote on which films we discuss here on the show or in our reviews. The links, again, are all down below.
And join us on social media at More Movies For You across the board, where you can witness very silly things like the movie of the day.
Today's movie of the day is The Amazing and American Werewolf in London, a very silly film where a man turns into a wolf. Who believed in such things?
And there we go, sir. that's another show wrapped up there. Number 24 is in the can, ready for editing and to be blasted out there on the internet. Thanks very much for joining us both. We really appreciate it. We hope to see you again next time. And until then, take very good care of yourselves and keep watching more movies. Well guys, that's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to leave us a comment and smash that like button right here on YouTube. In the meantime, if you want to check out more of our reviews and articles, check out our website, moremovies.co.uk. And come and join us on social media at More Movies For You. That's Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all of that jazz. And if you want to support us because you like our content, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com, or you can just buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com. All the links are in the description below. And to check out more of our filmtastic content, click on one of the buttons on screen now.